The time is 4:42 to start your Wednesday, and it is very snowy. We do have a live look over downtown Florence. Thankfully, nobody is driving this. I had to drive in this morning, and it's not fun, honestly. If you do not have to drive today, I wouldn't, just because we are not used to handling inches of snow across the Grand Strand. The roads are not necessarily prepared, at least not all of them across the area. So it is dangerous travel, and it is still actively snowing, even though we're already up to 5 inches of snow. In some locations along the Grand Strand, we're at 2 to 4 across portions of the PD. We are seeing a little bit of a break in the snowfall for the border belt, but it is still continuously snowing along the Grand Strand, and it is expected to do so until 9 o'clock this morning. So we still have about 4 to 5 hours that we're going to be dealing with this and continuously accumulating snowfall across the area. For North Myrtle Beach, over the past 24 hours, we're up to 3.5 inches of snow. The previous daily record for January was just 1/2 inch. So we did set a record already in North Myrtle Beach for snowfall. Now, Florence and Lumberton, they both have been hit with major snowstorms in January, 9 and 10 inches in one day for both of those. And right now we're at over 3.5 in Florence and just over 3 in Lumberton as well. So maybe not breaking records in those cities, but we are in North Myrtle Beach. And overall, this is definitely going to be one of our top snowy events that we've seen ever across the Grand Strand. Now, the snow is really only for the morning time. We are going to be clearing out for this afternoon. Sunshine is even going to be breaking out. We're not necessarily going to get warm at all for today. Temperatures topping out around 32 to 34. The cities that do get up to 34, you are going to have a little bit of that snow melting, and it gets even colder tonight. So that is going to be refreezing. This is why we have a weather alert day in effect for tomorrow, because the travel conditions could even be worse for tomorrow, because you're going to deal with black ice, slick roadways, and thankfully school is going to be canceled for tomorrow as well. But as we look at our sky meter for inland, mostly cloudy, still snowing at 7 a.m. Notice those clouds do drop off. Again, we will get sunshine for today, but we still have to deal with snow for the next 4 to 5 hours. It is going to look very nice outside. You know, the snow's pretty to look at, but it is not fun to be driving in this type of weather. The highs for today, 32 to 34, and we're going to be talking about potentially breaking record low temperatures later tonight. Gracie, Alexis.
This is a Storm Tracker 13 Weather Alert Day.
Good morning, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Gracie Fusco.
I'm Alexis King. If you're just waking up on this Wednesday, you know that we have weather out there. In here, we have meteorologist Hannah Ronner to kind of walk us through the winter weather that a lot of us just aren't typically prepared for on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes it takes a few minutes to kind of get your snow legs back on, even walking or driving. But how treacherous is it out there for everyone's morning commute?
I mean, we all drove in it this morning. I think it was absolutely terrible. It took more than double the
Like, how fast
normal.
did you go ish?
I went 25 to about 30 on 544, which is a 45 mile per hour speed limit. And I mean, there are some portions of the road that are very clear, not necessarily like dry, but then there's also like huge clumps of like conglomerate snow together, and it hits your car and it's pretty loud. So it is not safe to be doing so. You know, thankfully school is canceled. I know a lot of businesses closed down early yesterday in preparation for this weather, just so their employees aren't going out and about. And honestly, you shouldn't.
Right.
This could be a day for you to stay at home with your family. You know, like do fun things in the snow.
If you were ever going to stay home, today is the day, because most of us around here, we don't have snow chains or tires.
No.
We just don't have those things. We also don't have plows
Nope.
in the area in abundance anyway. So it's going to take, we're going to have to wait for it to melt in essence.
Yeah, and we will be a few degrees above freezing for today, so you will see a little bit of melting. But I mean, we have 5 inches of snow across Myrtle Beach, which is going to be a once in a decade system that we are going to be dealing with right now, and it's still snowing. You know, keep that in mind, that 5 inch total is going to get higher in Myrtle Beach. Right now on radar, still snowing from Florence through Hartsville.
Morning, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Alexis King.
And I'm Gracie Fusco. Today is January 22nd, and it is a snowy weather alert day. We've got team coverage for you all morning as we work to get you through those icy conditions.
That's right. We have Hannah Huffstickler live outside in Myrtle Beach, but we're going to get things started off right here in the studio. Hannah Ronner standing by to tell us what's going on outside. Hannah, what is the status on more snowfall for today and road conditions as folks head out this morning?
Gracie and Alexis, we drove to work in these conditions. We can personally attest to them that it is not fun to be driving because our roads are not equipped to handle this. I mean, yes, some of the roads were definitely going to be treated, but we also saw 4 to 5 inches of snow along the Grand Strand, which is just too much to cover all of the roadways across the area to be dealing with. It was slushy, clumpy snow hitting the car. It was pretty loud. And then we got sleet on top of that for a few hours. So my windshield was freezing over as I was driving. And of course, if you have to drive, I don't recommend that you do by any means, but if you must, we need to be going 15 to 20 miles under the speed limit. And even then, you still have to have a hard grip on the steering wheel. Just make sure you're using extra caution, but it's still going to be hazardous travel even for tomorrow as well. But again, in terms of the winter weather event, yes, it is still snowing across portions of the area, and we've seen anywhere from 2 to 6 inches of snow, so a historic storm. But we are going to have to deal with the impacts of this for the days to come, even though the snow is going to be ending in about the next 2 to 3 hours. The temperatures right now are very cold, a little colder than yesterday, but we're still talking about 20 to 24 degrees. Account for the wind, which is very breezy in some cases. 11 to 23 miles per hour is dropping your wind chill to 11 degrees is the feel like temperature in Myrtle Beach, 12 in North Myrtle, 15 in Florence, and likely it's going to be even worse as we're walking out the door tomorrow. Now that snow again ending in the next 2 to 3 hours. We will have sunshine breaking out for the afternoon, but even your high temperatures will hover right around freezing. A few degrees above could lead to a partial melt, which is definitely going to undergo a hard freeze again later tonight. Back to you. The time is 6:11 and we still have scattered snow showers all across the area. A little bit of a break for Myrtle Beach, and right now we have a look at downtown Florence across the PD, where there's definitely been some travelers out. We can see proof of that in the road, but overall it is a little bit of a winter wonderland. But again, it is going to be a great day if you're staying at home to enjoy the snow with snowmen and snow angels. But if you have to drive today, it is not going to be a very fun day because the roads are just downright hazardous. I mean, it is not a good time to be out and about on the roads. You definitely have to be reducing your speed, and eventually it is going to be much better, but the roads are not going to show much melting. By lunchtime, it'll be sunny, but the temperature will be around 30, so everything's still going to stay intact. Once we get to the mid-afternoon, we'll make it to about 34, which would lead to a little bit of melting, but there's only a few hours throughout the day where we will be at and a little bit above freezing. Most of the time, we're going to be 32 and below, and there's another hard freeze for tonight, so a little bit of melting is actually probably going to make it worse for tomorrow because we'll be dealing with black ice and things like that. The dog walk forecast. Your dogs definitely need a lot of layers for this morning. Anything that's below freezing, if it's uncomfortable for you, it's definitely going to be uncomfortable for them. Also, if the roads were going to be treated, ice can be very damaging to their paws. So they would need some booties, or you would need to go in a place that definitely was not treated with any form of salt to keep their feet a little bit more on the safe side. As we look at Viper 13 real-time radar, we do have a break right now across most of the area with snow still falling in Hartsville, most of Florence County, Lake City, and down in Georgetown as well. Eventually, this will all exit in just a few hours. Sunshine for the afternoon, but it's going to get very cold again for tonight. In fact, even colder than what we have outside right now, which is in the lower 20s. We're going to be down in the teens for tonight. Our futurecast shows that snow exiting the area between about 8 and 9 in the morning. Then eventually the clouds move away as well. Sunshine for the afternoon and clear for tonight as well. But again, it is not really the sky conditions that are very important. It's going to be the temperatures and how they're going to be consistently very cold, leading to, of course, that ice sticking around for a few days. The high for today around 32 to 34. In the teens for tonight, 15 to 22 degrees below average. And in fact, we're watching for record low temperatures. The number to beat is 17 in North Myrtle Beach. Florence is forecast to tie. Back to you. And so far, the most recent numbers that we're able to find in terms of accumulated snowfall is still quite significant, especially because we're talking about Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We have 3 to nearly 5 inches, an isolated amount of 6 inches in Loris. But again, this is a few hours in terms of the latest information. So once we get those newer numbers as we go through the morning, we're going to be surprised to see more cities probably getting close to 5 and 6 inches of snow. There wasn't quite as much across the PD, but still about 2 to 3 inches so far for Florence and Lumberton. But again, we will get some new numbers here shortly. Our headlines for today, we are going to be clearing out. Again, not much has changed in terms of how long the snow was expected. It began yesterday evening, began to accumulate pretty quick, but overall 12 to 14 hours. That's how much snow we were expected to deal with, how much time anyway. But because temperatures remain so cold with the Arctic air in place, this is going to be impactful for the days to come, especially for the morning commute tomorrow. We know it's already bad out there right now, but it could get even worse for tomorrow because it's going to get colder and we could see a little bit of some melting, which of course would refreeze later tonight. In terms of why tomorrow is going to be the biggest issues, because if we do get that little bit of melting, its temperatures will be about 32 to 34 degrees. We will see some of that ice accumulate, and on pavement, it's just hard to see. That's why it's called black ice. It blends in with the pavement. Icy, slick, very dangerous to be dealing with. The tips for driving in winter weather, if you have to, we don't recommend that you do, but you need to, of course, be reducing your speed 15-20 miles per hour below the speed limit. Avoid slamming on your brakes. That's going to be the case when you're dealing with sleet and freezing rain to avoid sudden stops. If you're sliding, you need to turn your wheel into the direction that you're sliding. And then if you're also traveling over bridges, just know that those are going to be freezing over first as we head into the overnight. The temperature for today, about 32. That's very minimal melting. Florence, about 34, so partially, but a hard freeze for tonight. It's going to be even colder than what it is outside. Down in the teens, close to record low temperatures. We will be back in the 40s for Thursday and even 50s come the weekend. And right now it is not widespread in terms of those snow showers, which are lingering for the next few hours. But on Viper 13 real-time radar, we can see it is a little bit more persistent closer to the coast, definitely down in Georgetown and Williamsburg County. But we do have a little bit of a break in terms of your snow. But again, that's actively falling. It is still sticking to the ground because temperatures are right now in the 20s and they're only going to get slightly above freezing for today, and that's only going to be for a few hours. So we could see a little bit of a melt, which would definitely refreeze to ice tonight, which is arguably going to be worse driving conditions for tomorrow, which is why that weather alert day will be sticking around, especially for tomorrow morning, just because it's going to be, one, even colder, but also because we could see even more ice accumulating on the roads. The Futurecast is going to have that snow slowly exiting, but honestly, we seem good to go in terms of active precipitation by about 9 a.m. or so. Then sun for the afternoon and relatively clear for tonight. But honestly, shouldn't be driving out in this weather, but if you must, sometimes you still have to go to work even if school is going to be out. Those safety tips for driving in the snow, reducing the speed, of course, not slamming on your brakes. That is especially going to be important when you're driving in the sleet. And if you do notice that you are starting to slide, you need to turn into the way that you are sliding. But overall, you could definitely be losing control out on the roads for today. So use the caution definitely needed for today and also tomorrow, even possibly for Friday morning as well. Temperatures are still going to be very cold in the coming days. It's going to get even colder for tonight, down in the teens. Wind chills will be once again close to the single digits for most of us. Your 7-day forecast, we will make it to the upper 30s for tomorrow, which again would be allowing for more melting across the area, but we're still falling below freezing for Thursday night and into Friday. We will be more so in the 40s for Friday and to start the weekend. And we finally get some normal temperatures back for Sunday, right around 54.